The man at the motel window, Alyssa Grant, 28. Traveling solo cross-country after her mother's funeral. The desert motel. The rain had stopped, but the desert air still smelled like dust and lightning. Alyssa pulled her red Toyota Corolla into the cracked parking lot of the Sundown Motel. A one-story row of faded turquoise doors, half the neon sign flickering. Inside the small lobby, a dusty ceiling fan hummed. The old clerk, wearing a plaid shirt and bolo tie, slid a key across the counter. "Room 7, he said. "Don't open your curtains after dark." She blinked. "What?" He smiled thinly. "Trust me." Room 7 smelled of bleach and cigarettes. There was a single queen bed with a faded floral blanket, an old CRT television, and a window facing the highway. Exhausted, Alyssa set her phone to charge and laid down. Around 2 a.m., a soft tapping came from the window. At first she thought it was wind, but it grew deliberate, rhythmic. She pulled the curtain slightly. A man in a yellow raincoat stood outside, face hidden under the hood. He didn't move, he just tilted his head. Then came a low whisper through the glass. "You're not supposed to be here." Alyssa stumbled back, heart hammering. The desert night now felt too alive, too silent. The raincoat man. She turned off the light and crouched by the bed, staring at the curtain. The tapping began again, slower, heavier, like knuckles dragging down the window pane. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. When she answered, there was only breathing. "Room 7, the voice rasped, "has been closed for years." She hung up instantly and peeked again. The man was gone, but muddy footprints now trailed beneath the window, leading to the edge of the parking lot, then disappearing into the sand. The motel's neon sign flickered through the storm clouds. Glowing Sunday, and she grabbed her car keys and decided to check out early. But when she opened the door, she froze. Every door along the row, rooms 1 through 10, hung slightly open, each revealing an empty, untouched interior. No luggage, no lights, no people. Only her room was lit. Then, from somewhere behind her, she heard the clerk's voice. "Ma'am, you shouldn't have opened that door." She turned, but the hallway was empty. The old ledger. Alyssa ran to the front office, raincoat pulled tight against the drizzle. The clerk was gone, but the front desk was open. On the counter sat an old motel ledger. Pages yellowed and curled. She flipped through. All entries stopped in 1998. Then she saw it. Room 7. Alyssa Grant. Same handwriting. Same date and tonight's date. Her hands trembled as she whispered, "No, no way." A thud echoed from the hallway. Then another. Slow, heavy footsteps moving closer. Alyssa ducked behind the counter. Through the crack, she saw yellow rain boots appear in the doorway. The man's voice was deeper now, distorted. "You checked in again." Just like before. When she dared to peek up, the lobby lights flickered, and he was gone, replaced by her own reflection in the glass door. Except in the reflection, the man stood behind her. She spun around, nothing there. Only the faint smell of wet leather and cigarette smoke. Then the phone on the counter rang once. She lifted it, shaking. "You can't check out, Alyssa. You never did. The desert record." She sprinted back to her room, grabbed her things, and jumped in the car. The wipers squealed against the dry windshield as she sped out onto the highway. But after a few minutes, she saw something impossible. The same Sundown Motel sign ahead. Glowing through the haze, she slammed the brakes, skidding to a stop. She had driven in a circle, confused and terrified. She parked on the shoulder and checked her phone. No signal, no GPS. Only one photo in her gallery, time-stamped 2 hours ago. A picture of her sleeping, taken from inside the motel room. She screamed and threw the phone onto the seat. Lightning struck somewhere behind her, illuminating the motel in the distance. For a brief second, she saw a figure in yellow standing on the roof, staring straight at her. She floored the gas again, heart pounding. The rain returned in sheets, distorting everything, and the road, the trees, the horizon. And when she passed a green highway sign, it read, "Now leaving Gallup, population 0. The truth about room 7. At sunrise, she finally spotted another vehicle, a state patrol SUV parked by a diner. She stumbled out, crying, waving her arms. "Please, there's a man following me. At the Sundown Motel." The officer, a gray-haired man with kind eyes, looked stunned. "Mom," Sundown Motel burned down in 1998. Her stomach dropped. He showed her a laminated file, a fire report. Room 7 had been the source. Cause unknown. Victim unidentified female, late 20s. Alyssa's name wasn't there, but her heart knew the truth. I was just there, she whispered. It's still standing, the officer frowned. Come with me. They drove to the site. The lot was empty, just a blackened foundation, overgrown weeds, and a rusted neon frame half buried in sand. As she stepped out, her phone buzzed. A new message. Room 7 is ready for you. She looked up. The sundown sign flickered once, then died. Back to the ashes that night she couldn't sleep. She checked into another motel an hour away, but the same rain drummed against the window, the same rhythm as before. When she looked outside, her car was gone. A knock came at the door. She opened it, expecting the officer. Instead, a motel clerk stood there, smiling faintly. Same plaid shirt. Same bolo tie. He handed her a key. Room 7, he said softly. You dropped this? Alyssa's throat closed. Where did you get that? He only smiled wider. You never checked out. When she looked down, the keychain read, Sundown Motel, Gallup NM. She backed into the room, locking the door, only to realize the number on it had changed. A small brass 7 gleamed above her peephole, and through the window the neon glow returned, flickering faintly through the rain. The fire returns. Smoke began to fill the room, curling from beneath the door. Alyssa grabbed her bag, coughing, but when she touched the knob, it burned her hand. Outside, flames licked across the carpeted hallway. She tried the window, jammed. She screamed for help, pounding the glass until it cracked. From the smoke emerged the man in the yellow raincoat, face finally visible, his features melted, eyes white, mouth fixed in a silent scream. You've stayed too long, he hissed. Now you'll never leave. He pressed a hand to the window. Firelight reflected in his wet skin as the glass shattered outward, sucking in smoke and sparks. She climbed through, falling onto the gravel outside. But the motel around her wasn't burning anymore. It was whole again, perfectly intact, neon sign glowing. Behind her, Room 7's curtains swayed open, and her own burned face stared back at her. The forever guest. 2 months later, a new couple traveling through New Mexico stopped for the night at a lonely roadside motel. The sign flickered. Sundown Motel, vacancy. They checked in with a polite young woman at the desk, red hair, soft voice, name tag reading Alyssa. When asked about breakfast, she smiled faintly. Just coffee. Don't open your curtains after dark. That night, the couple heard tapping at their window. When the man pulled the curtain aside, a pale face stared back, smoke-charred eyes empty. And as they screamed, the raincoat figure stepped from the shadows behind them, whispering, Room 7's still waiting. The next morning, the motel was gone. Only the rusted sign and a single motel key lay half buried in the mud, engraved with the number 7. The Hitchhiker on Route 117. The storm and the road. The storm had rolled in fast over the Arizona desert, fat raindrops pelting the windshield of Ethan's 18-wheeler. As he cruised along Route 117, the yellow lines shimmered like gold snakes in his headlights. His CB radio crackled with static, the only other sound besides the rumble of the diesel engine. The road was empty. No headlights behind him, no taillights ahead, just the endless black stretching beyond the wiper's rhythmic squeak. Ethan was used to this. He'd been hauling produce across the Southwest for 5 years. But that night, something about the air felt heavy. A roadwork ahead sign appeared suddenly, lit in the distance by flashes of lightning. He slowed down, scanning for cones or barriers. But the road was clear. No machinery, no workers. Just the sign, and the faint outline of a person standing near it, soaked and motionless. Ethan's grip tightened on the steering wheel. The figure didn't move as he approached, didn't wave, didn't step back. Just stood there in the downpour, head tilted slightly, face obscured by long, wet hair. When Ethan's headlights fully hit the figure, the road ahead was empty. No one there, no sign of movement, just the rain, but in his side mirror, a shadow crossed the highway behind him. The hitchhiker appears. Ethan's pulse kicked up as he scanned the mirrors. The desert was open, nothing but scrub brush and asphalt. No place for anyone to vanish that fast. He reached for his CB radio. "Any units on 117 near mile marker 38? "Got someone in the road back there," he said, but only static replied. 10 minutes later, the rain thickened. A lonely gas station appeared. Lone Star fuel stop, a rundown place with a single flickering light over pump 2. He pulled in, grabbed his jacket, and stepped out into the freezing air. The wind carried the faint smell of wet sagebrush and gasoline. As he filled the tank, he glanced across the lot and froze. There she was, the same figure from the road, standing by the payphone near the convenience store. Head bowed, dripping hair plastered to her pale face. "Ma'am? You okay?" he called. No response. When he took a step closer, her head snapped up. Her eyes, they were glassy, almost grey, and her lips moved soundlessly like she was whispering to someone beside her. Ethan backed away, heart thudding. A truck horn blared behind him, another driver pulling in. When Ethan turned back toward the payphone, she was gone. Only the swinging receiver dangled, tapping gently against the booth glass. He looked down at the wet ground. There were bare footprints leading straight toward his truck, and stopping right beside the driver's door. The ICs in the radio, the storm hadn't let up. Lightning flashed in the desert sky as Ethan pulled back onto Route 117, trying to shake the image of the woman from his mind. He turned up the CB, hoping for chatter, static, then faintly, a voice. It wasn't the usual driver banter. It was a woman's voice, soft, broken. "Ethan, stop, please stop." He nearly veered off the road. He switched the channel, but her voice stayed, whispering through every frequency. "Don't leave me out here." "It's cold." Ethan's stomach twisted. No one knew his name. He hadn't given it to anyone. He yanked the mic cord from the dash. The voice stopped, but then the radio screen flickered, and her reflection appeared faintly in the cracked glass. Sitting in the passenger seat, head bowed, hands clasped like she was praying, Ethan gasped, jerking the wheel. When he looked over, the seat was empty. Just a wet handprint on the fabric. A thunderclap boomed overhead, and the lights of a small diner appeared up ahead. Root House Grill, open late. He pulled in fast. Tires screeching on wet pavement. He needed to see another human being. The diner in the rain. The diner was dimly lit, the neon sign buzzing faintly through the downpour. Ethan stepped inside, dripping water onto the checkered floor. The bell over the door jingled, and a middle-aged waitress with tired eyes greeted him. "Sit anywhere, hun." He slid into a booth by the window, still trembling. A single cup of coffee steamed in front of him minutes later. The rain hammered on the glass. Across the diner sat a lone man in a sheriff's uniform, nursing a slice of pie. Ethan glanced at him, then leaned toward the waitress. "Hey, you get a lot of hitchhikers out here?" She frowned. "Not much lately. Not since that accident last month." Ethan froze mid-sip. "What accident?" She lowered her voice. "A young woman. Hit and run. Out on 117 near the old construction zone." Ethan's heart started pounding. "She died instantly," the waitress said, eyes drifting toward the window. "Some drivers still say they see her out there on rainy nights, looking for a ride home." A flash of lightning illuminated the glass, and for a split second Ethan saw her reflection outside, standing by his truck again. He bolted to his feet, chair scraping. When he ran out, the passenger side door was wide open. The passenger rain poured in as Ethan climbed into the cab. The seat beside him was soaked, the radio hissing faintly. He slammed the door shut and hit the locks. "Okay," he whispered, heart hammering. "You're just tired." But then the smell hit him. Wet earth, old perfume, and metal. The same scent from the gas station. He looked in the mirror. Someone was sitting in the sleeper cabin behind him. The figure leaned forward slowly, her long black hair glistening under the dashboard lights. Ethan froze, breath caught in his chest. "Why didn't you stop?" she whispered. Her voice was soft, trembling. "I tried to call you." Ethan turned, hands shaking. "I don't know what you mean." "I didn't." She moved closer. Her face came into view, pale skin, grey lips, water dripping from her chin. "You saw the sign," she hissed. "You saw me." Her eyes locked on his. "Now you'll take me home." The drive to nowhere. The wipers screeched as Ethan's truck rolled through sheets of rain. The woman sat silently beside him, staring ahead. Her hands were clasped in her lap, knuckles white. "Where do you live?" Ethan managed to ask. She turned her head slowly. "Just follow the road. Every signpost blurred by mile 42. Mile 50, mile 58. The road wound deeper into nowhere. No lights, no exits, just desert and lightning. Then she spoke again. "Oh, you missed it." Ethan looked around. No turns, no driveway, just open desert. "Pull over," she whispered. "Right here." He slammed the brakes. The truck skidded to a stop, tires hissing on wet pavement. He turned to her, but she was gone. The passenger door hung open, swinging in the storm. Ethan stumbled out, rain soaking him instantly. There, in the glare of his headlights, was an old rusted memorial cross by the roadside, half buried in mud. On it, a name carved into the wood. Lily Harper, 1995-2023. Lightning flashed. Behind him, a woman's reflection in the chrome fuel tank. The final chase. Ethan jumped back into the truck and gunned it, tires spinning in the mud. The rain fell harder now, almost white noise against the glass. He checked his mirror. She was standing in the middle of the road, her eyes glowing faintly in the headlights. He hit the gas, heart pounding. Then thud. Something hit the back of the truck. He looked in the mirror again. The tailgate was dented inward, like someone had slammed it with full force. Then came the voice, not through the radio this time, but from the truck's internal speakers. "Don't run, Ethan." He yanked the wires from the dash, cursing, shouting for her to stop. The truck lights flickered, the engine sputtered. He could see her reflection in every chrome surface, closer every time the lightning flashed. He pressed harder on the pedal. But the truck suddenly died. Lights out, engine silent, the only sound left was rain. And her knocking on the glass beside him. The cross on Route 1 to 17. When the highway patrol found the truck the next morning, it sat idling on the shoulder near mile marker 60, doors locked, headlights still on. Ethan Ross was gone. No sign of struggle. No blood, no footprints, just a single wet handprint on the passenger window. The officer noted something strange. A memorial cross had been placed about 10 feet behind the truck. Fresh flowers at its base, white lilies. Locals say the rain on Route 117 still brings her back. Lily Harper, the hitchhiker who never made it home. Truckers passing that stretch sometimes report a figure waving at them from the roadside, barefoot, drenched, pleading for a ride. And on stormy nights, if you listen to Channel 9 on your CB radio, you might still hear her whisper, "Please don't leave me out here." The basement apartment. The new apartment. Lauren lugged the last box down the slick cement steps. A rain dripping from the rusted awning above the entrance marked Basement Unit 1B. The air smelled of damp concrete and detergent. Inside, a single bulb flickered overhead, casting shadows over exposed pipes and peeling paint. It wasn't much. A small kitchen, low ceiling, and a single window that looked up at street level, where boots splashed by in puddles. But it was cheap, and for a broke grad student that was reason enough. The landlord, Mr. Hendricks, a quiet man in his 60s, handed her the key and a warning. "Lock the back door at night." "The alley's not safe," he said, voice hoarse. Lauren nodded, brushing off the comment. That night she unpacked to the sound of thunder rolling outside. The basement walls seemed to breathe with every gust of wind. She made tea, scrolled her phone, and tried not to notice how cold the floor was. At 11:47 p.m., as she drifted to sleep, she heard it. 3 slow knocks coming from under the floor. Right beneath her bed, she froze, staring at the damp concrete wall. The sound stopped. Then came a whisper, faint but distinct, "Don't stay down here." The unseen tenant, Lauren brushed it off as pipes, the building settling, something explainable. But by morning she couldn't shake the unease. The floor felt colder, as if a draft seeped from below. She explored the space, a single narrow hallway leading to a metal utility door behind her kitchen. It was padlocked shut, old and rusted. A faded sticker on it read, "Authorized maintenance only." That afternoon she ran into her upstairs neighbor, Maria, a young mother carrying groceries. "You live in 1B?" Maria asked, frowning. "They still rent that one out?" Lauren blinked. "Why wouldn't they?" Maria hesitated. "Because last tenant..." He disappeared. Cops came for weeks. That night rain hammered harder. Lauren tried reading, but the basement hummed, a low vibration like distant machinery. She leaned close to the padlocked door. From behind it came a faint shuffling sound, then slow breathing. She stepped back, heart pounding. Then something scraped across the other side of the metal door, like fingernails dragging against steel. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Please don't open that door." The photo in the hallway. The next morning, Lauren woke to find muddy footprints on her floor, bare feet, leading from the back door to the utility room. The lock was untouched, but the air smelled like wet soil and mold. She marched upstairs furious and confronted Mr. Hendricks. "Someone's getting into my apartment." He looked startled, then strangely calm. "No one can. That lock's been sealed since 2019. What's behind it?" she demanded. He stared at her for a long moment. "The old laundry room. We closed it off after an incident." Back downstairs, Lauren searched Logan Square basement disappearance online. Her headline popped up. "Tenant found dead behind wall when police investigating." The article showed a blurry photo of the door, the same one behind her kitchen. That night, she took a photo of her hallway, meaning to send it to a friend. But when she checked the image, there was a figure in it. A tall, thin man standing by the door, face obscured by shadow. Lauren turned slowly. The hallway was empty. Then a drip echoed. She looked down. A trail of muddy water led back toward her bed. Voices beneath the floor. By day 3, Lauren barely slept. The apartment stank of mildew. Her light flickered even with new bulbs. She kept hearing faint movement when everything was silent, a dragging, slow, rhythmic sound under the floorboards. She placed her ear to the cold concrete and froze. Someone was humming beneath her. That night she set her phone to record and left it running while she slept. Rain pattered softly outside, mixing with the city hum. In the morning she played the recording. For the first 2 hours, nothing. Then at 3:12 a.m. a door creaked open. Footsteps, and then her own voice. "Who's there?" A man's whisper followed. "I live here too." Lauren dropped the phone. It wasn't possible. She'd been asleep the entire night. She turned toward the utility door. This time it was slightly open, and from the crack a wet grey hand reached out and slowly pulled the door shut again. The hidden room. Lauren called the landlord again, voice shaking. "That door's open. Someone's inside." He sighed heavily. "Lauren, I told you to keep it locked. I'll come by in the morning." Morning never came. The storm outside grew worse. Streets flooded, power flickered. She grabbed a flashlight and a crowbar she found in the closet. The padlock was corroded, old. She pried it loose. The door swung open with a shriek. Behind it, a narrow passageway sloped down beneath the foundation. The walls were lined with wet insulation, hanging like skin. The air was suffocating, smelling of rust and rot. She crept deeper, beam shaking. At the end of the passage stood a small room with an iron bed frame, a broken sink, and walls covered in photographs. All of her. Every picture showed her doing everyday things, leaving for class, buying coffee, sleeping. And in every image, there was a man's reflection nearby. Watching her, then she saw it, a handprint on the far wall, still wet. The man in the wall, her flashlight flickered, dying. In that second of darkness, she heard breathing deep and close. "Who's there?" she whispered. Something shifted behind her. A tall figure emerged from the corner, drenched, pale, eyes glassy. His skin was cracked, covered in dirt. "You shouldn't have come in here," he said softly. "It's mine now." Lauren stumbled backward, flashlight shaking wildly. She turned and bolted toward the stairs. He moved fast, unnaturally fast, dragging one leg behind him, bare feet slapping the wet floor. She slammed the door shut, shoving a chair beneath the handle. The man hit it from the other side, the wood groaning with every impact, then silence. Only rain against the window. She ran to call 911, but the phone had no signal. The clock blinked 3 a.m. from the corner of her eye. She saw movement in the vent above the stove. A single grey eye stared down at her through the slats. The flood. The storm intensified, thunder shaking the apartment. Water started seeping under the door, pooling across the concrete floor. Lauren grabbed her bag, heading for the stairs, but the door at the top was jammed. Water rose ankle-deep, then knee-deep. Something moved beneath the surface. She aimed the flashlight down. Murky water rippling, a hand shot up, gripping her ankle. She screamed, kicking free. The hand disappeared, leaving only swirling dirt. The power cut out completely. The only light came from occasional lightning flashes through the tiny window. In one flash, the man stood in the corner of the room, half submerged in water, head tilted, smiling. He whispered through the rising flood, "You opened my door." "Now you're part of the house." Lauren climbed onto the counter, pounding the ceiling for help. Her breath came in gasps, the water up to her chest. Then something cold wrapped around her waist and pulled her under. After the storm, 2 days later, when city workers pumped the water from the basement, they found the apartment empty. Lauren's belongings were floating. Books, clothes. Her phone cracked on the floor. The utility door was locked again. Mr. Hendricks told police no one had lived in 1B for years. "That unit was sealed," he said. "No power, no lease." When the maintenance team broke the lock, they found a second hidden crawl space behind the wall, filled with black water. Floating at the surface was a single Polaroid photo, showing Lauren asleep in her bed. In the reflection of the window beside her stood a tall man smiling faintly. Locals say the basement on North Kedzie still floods whenever it rains, and at night you can hear humming from beneath the concrete. "Don't stay down here." The truck stop shadow. The storm on I-70, the rain came down like sheets of glass, slamming against the windshield of Ethan's Kenworth T680. The wipers struggled to keep up as his headlights cut through the black void of Interstate 70. He'd been on the road for 14 hours straight, the highway nearly deserted, except for the occasional set of glowing taillights disappearing into the mist. The radio flickered between static and old country songs. Somewhere between Columbia and Kingdom City, he noticed a sign barely visible in the downpour. "Rest stop, 2 miles." He was exhausted. He pulled in, parking between 2 massive semi-trailers. The rest area was dimly lit by flickering sodium lamps. Water pooled around the pavement, reflecting orange light like molten metal. Ethan shut off the engine and leaned back, eyes heavy. Rain hammered the cab roof rhythmically until it didn't. He blinked. The sound changed, softer, slower, like footsteps tapping across the metal roof above him. He froze. The footsteps stopped right above his seat. Lightning flashed outside, and in that moment of white light he saw a shadow move past his windshield. It wasn't a man. It was too tall, too thin, moving with impossible smoothness. The knock at the door, Ethan tried convincing himself it was his imagination. Long hours on the road made you see things. But when he leaned forward, the driver's side mirror showed muddy handprints, long stretched fingers smeared across the glass. He rolled down the window halfway, rain spraying in. "Hello?" he called out. Nothing, only the hum of nearby idling trucks. Then 3 knocks, slow, deliberate, right beside his door. He jumped, twisting in his seat. Nothing there. The parking lot was empty. Ethan turned the ignition, engine roaring to life. His heart raced as he checked his mirrors again, and saw it. A figure standing just beyond the edge of the light, facing his truck. It was tall, wearing what looked like a tattered raincoat, head tilted upward like it was studying him. Then another flash of lightning, and it vanished. He floored the accelerator, tires screeching through the flooded lot. But as he pulled back onto I-70, his headlights swept across the wet asphalt, revealing footprints, bare, human, leading away into the dark woods. The voice on the radio. The storm worsened. Ethan's CB radio crackled back to life with bursts of static. He reached for it, turning the dial. "Breaker 19, anyone out there?" he asked, at first only static. Then a voice, male, weak. "Don't stop at the rest stop. He follows." Ethan froze. "Who is this?" he said, leaning closer. But the voice continued, whispering through static. "He's not human. He waits for the lonely ones." Then the channel went dead. Ethan's heart pounded. He drove faster, but the rain made the road nearly invisible. He glanced in the side mirror and saw something crouched on the back of his trailer. A shape, long limbs bent backward, its face pressed to the metal door. He slammed the brakes. The truck skidded sideways, water splashing against the guardrail. When he got out, flashlight in hand, there was nothing there. Only streaks of muddy handprints down the back of his trailer, each one elongated, almost claw-like. That's when he noticed something glinting in the mud. A driver's license. Name: Thomas Reed. Issue date: 2014. He didn't know it yet, but Thomas Reed was the last driver to go missing from that same rest stop. The gas station clerk. Ethan pulled into a 24-hour gas station outside of Columbia around 2 a.m. The place was deserted, except for an old clerk behind the counter, flipping through a newspaper. The bell above the door jingled as Ethan walked in, dripping wet, clutching the driver's license. "You ever hear of a guy named Thomas Reed?" he asked. The clerk looked up slowly, eyes narrowing. "You didn't stop at that rest stop, did you?" Ethan hesitated. "Yeah, why?" The clerk sighed, setting down his coffee. 4 years ago, Reed stopped there during a storm like this. Next morning, his truck was found running. Door wide open. No sign of him. Ethan stared at him, throat dry. "What happened to him?" "They say a man walks those woods when it rains," the clerk said. "But he ain't alive. Folks call him the shadow trucker, a man who drove himself off the road, and now hunts others who doze at the wheel." The lights flickered overhead. Outside, rain hammered harder. Ethan turned back toward his rig. But in the reflection of the window, standing by his truck door, was the man in the raincoat, head tilted upward again. "The chase begins!" Ethan sprinted back to the cab, fumbling the keys. He slammed the door and started the engine. His headlights cut across the empty highway. Except for one thing, the figure stood dead center of the road, arms hanging loosely, soaked from the rain. His head twitched unnaturally. Ethan blared the horn. No movement. He revved forward, and the shadow disappeared beneath his bumper. He hit the brakes, heart hammering, and jumped out. But there was no body. Only muddy water swirling down the roadside ditch. Then, behind him, his truck's radio flickered to life again. A voice whispered through static, "You can't leave me here." Ethan climbed back inside. The passenger seat was wet. A trail of muddy prints led from the door and ended right beside him. Lightning flashed, and for a split second he saw a figure sitting next to him, head bowed, skin pale and cracked. Then it was gone. The mile marker. Ethan sped down I-70, windshield wipers screaming against the downpour. Every few seconds, lightning illuminated the endless stretch of black road ahead. His GPS flickered, then reset itself. The digital map glitched, showing his location over and over again at mile marker 142. He'd been driving for nearly an hour, but the marker never changed. He slowed down, scanning the sides of the road. The landscape looked wrong. The same gas station, same billboard, same cracked shoulder line repeating like a loop. Then ahead, the same rest stop sign appeared through the mist. Rest stop, 2 miles. Ethan slammed his fist against the steering wheel. No, no, no. He'd been driving in circles. The radio hissed again, the same voice as before. "He doesn't let you go once he follows." Ethan looked in the mirror. The shadow man was crawling up the side of his trailer again, eyes glinting like dull headlights. The final transmission panicking, Ethan grabbed the CB mic. "Anyone on this channel? There's something out here. Please, static." Then another trucker's voice. "Copy that, driver. Where you at?" "Mile marker 142 I-70, the other voice cut in sharply. "That stretch has been closed since 2017. Mudslide took it out." Ethan froze. His stomach dropped. Outside his windshield, the highway suddenly ended in a jagged drop-off. He slammed the brakes, tires screaming as the truck fishtailed sideways. Skidding to a stop inches from the edge, lightning lit the sky, and for the first time, Ethan saw what lay below. A half-buried wrecked semi-truck twisted in the mud, its cab torn open, painted faintly across the side. Reed Hauling Co. And in the reflection of the broken windshield below, the shadow man smiled up at him. Aftermath on the highway. The next morning, Missouri state troopers responded to reports of a wreck on an abandoned section of I-70. They found Ethan's truck parked safely on the shoulder, engine running, driver's door open. No sign of Ethan. The only thing inside was his logbook. Open to the last page. Mile marker 142, he's still out here. Troopers noted something strange. The ground was soaked with rain. Yet no storm had passed the night before, and beside the truck, pressed deep into the mud, were long, barefoot prints stretching down toward the old rest stop road. Today, truckers say when you drive that stretch of I-70 on a rainy night, your radio might pick up faint whispers. A voice repeating the same message Ethan once heard. "Don't stop at the rest stop." He follows.